Hey guys, this is Illusion PODFIC, and today we're going to be reading Jason Todd's Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Week by Cylinder Boo. This is Chapter 2. The Watchtower. Jason woke up suddenly to the sensation of someone touching his neck, hands sliding under the rim of his helmet as if to unlatch it. He felt like shit, for lack of a better term. His head pounding with the telltale pressure of a concussion, which instantly put him on alert. He jerked on instinct, trying to slam his head into the person touching his neck before he could process who they were in the first place. A little too late, he realized it could have been one of his siblings, but as long as it wasn't the demon child, who'd never stop complaining, they could deal with a broken nose for a few weeks. Whoa! The person reeled back quicker than a normal human would be able to, but that might have just been the concussion talking. Careful, redhead. So definitely not one of their siblings. Dick would have called him Little Wing, Damian would have insulted him, and everyone else was used to simply calling him Hood or Jay. Finally, the world stopped spinning enough for him to somewhat get his bearings, and once it did, he really wanted to slip back into sweet, sweet unconsciousness. It was a real shit show. He found himself in a white ballroom, lit by blinding fluorescent lights. His thin ankles handcuffed to a chair, a two-way mirror was on the wall to his right, a door just a bit further down. The telltale ticking of a clock could be heard, but he couldn't tell from where, though fogginess coating his brain. His ribs had been bandaged with what felt like thin, itchy gauze, but if the pain was any indication, they hadn't bothered with pain meds, or didn't know they didn't work on him. Oh, and the person who nearly headbutted was the Flash, who had skittered behind Superman and Wonder Woman with a nervous smile. Great. Don't touch the helmet, Jason growled, doing his best to sound threatening. It is lined with explosive. You take it off incorrectly, my head and your hands go boom. He splayed his hands as best as he could for effect, cuffs rattling against the metal chair arms. It was an easy lie. Bruce had made him take them out the moment he found out they were in there, but it was believable enough to fool the League. If any of them caught on to the fact, they didn't show it. You really are something, Red Hood, Superman sighed, sitting down in the chair across from him. Look, all we need to know is the names of your associates. Why would I tell you that? Jason crooked his head to the side. Leaning back in the chair casually, he needed a plan, that much was obvious, but what was he trying to achieve? What would Tim do in a situation like this? If you tell us, we could put in a good word for you and get your time in Arkham shortened. The Wonder Woman posed. How does that sound? Arkham? Jason breathed, mind blanking. That is where the Joker... No, he was not going there. Don't tell me you're afraid of the place. Flash zipped around the room, inspecting him from every angle. You're really tense right now, so I'll take that as a yes. Not the place, Jason grit out, forcing his body to untense as soon as Flash mentioned it. One of the residents there. Blackgate, then, Wonder Woman amended, shooting Flash a withering glare. Just tell us the names. Blackgate's for sane people. Jason grinned under his mask as Wonder Woman slowly got more and more ticked off. No wonder Bruce liked it here. This was fun. I'm sure you see the problem with that, so tell me, what do I really get in return for telling you the names? What do you want? Superman shot back, placing a hand on Wonder Woman's shoulder and staring her away. Jason tipped his head back to stare at the ceiling, giving himself time to think. What did he want? Well, he wanted to go back to Gotham in one piece, with his secret identity intact, the existence of his siblings unknown, and Batman as unconnected to him as possible. How, though? Keeping his siblings unknown would be easy enough on his end, he decided. Knowing them, they would do something dumb and get discovered regardless, but it's the thought that counts, or whatever the hell Tim always says, whenever he claimed being knocked out counted as sleep. Simple. Stay out of Gotham until Batman's back to enforce the rule himself. Jason leveled, glaring straight into Superman's eyes, even though the older man couldn't see his face. As lovely as you seem after kidnapping me and all, I prefer Gotham when Signal was the only meta protecting it. Must not have been a good vigilante if you like him, Flash shot back, and Diana punched him. Ow, okay, I didn't mean it like... Jason saw green. Say that again, I fucking dare you, he hissed, jerking forward in his restraints. He felt the metal band, still holding. They better snap soon. He wanted to punch Flash. Calm down, Jason. A different approach, then. Well, Flash, if you're going to resort to bad-mouthing other heroes to get a rise out of me, you're not much better than me, Jason said, keeping his voice light and smug. At least I respect my heroes. Yeah, well, you're a murderer, so... Flash, take a walk. Superman cut him off sternly. A feral grin spread on Jason's face. That was easier than he thought. What? Man, come on. Flash groaned, but zipped out of the room. 1 down, 2 to go. Jason let that grin leak into his voice, basically gloating in their faces. Fuck murder. This was a dozen times more cathartic. This is fun, don't you think? Let's just send him to Arkham. We're not getting anywhere with this, one woman muttered to Superman. He's toying with us. Shit. That wasn't supposed to happen. Thanks for the praise, Princess. I really do try. Jason leaned back in his chair, trying his best to seem nonchalant, despite the cold stake of dread currently pushing its way through his heart. Let's go. Superman started to remove the handcuffs and place iron on him. That Clark Kent annoyance leaking into his voice. Oh, that's not half a bad idea. I don't know about that, Kent, Jason growled under his breath, watching the simultaneous satisfaction and fear as Superman's head whipped around. Pupils glowing red for a split second and the grip tightening around his wrist painfully. Wouldn't want everyone, and I mean everyone, in Arkham to know about Superman's secret identity, would you? How? Wonder Woman said, surprise infecting her voice. Don't think I don't know yours either, Diana Prince, he continued, letting his voice take on a menacing tone, only enhanced by the mechanical nature of his helmet. I did my homework. Barry Allen, John Jones, Victor Stone, Hal Jordan, Arthur Curry. I could go on, you know. I know everything. He didn't really. Not even Bruce could find Captain Marvel's identity after all, and he'd forgotten half the League's name the second he finished his research. But his words had their intended effect if their expressions were anything to go by. We need to contact the rest of the League. Diana grabbed Clark's wrist, who clicked Jason's cuffs closed and let himself be dragged out of the room by the Amazonian. Okay, so he was definitely not getting sent to Arkham. That was good. He did get himself into a deeper pile of shit, though, so maybe that wasn't the best idea. He leaned back in his chair and all but deflated as the door clicked closed. That was something. As far as interrogations went, it couldn't have gone any better. But that wasn't the best when the fucking Justice League were the ones doing the interrogating. How long had it been since he was knocked out anyway? He could hear a clock in the room, but it was to his back. He surmised he must have been out at least until morning, potentially longer, which meant he'd definitely missed check-in and potentially the pre-raid meetup. His siblings were probably freaking out right now. Back in Gotham. Dick was officially freaking out right now. Without Jason's intel, they had no idea where to go with the warehouse bust, so that was put on hold. In the meantime, Tim had spent a whole night combing through Jason's tracker logs, trying to find his last known location. It ended up being a pretty nondescript warehouse in the Narrows. Damian, despite himself, was currently at school. Tim took a day off and called Jason in sick, though Dick didn't know the specifics of whatever lie he'd come up with to give them both excused absences. So now, Dick was sitting in the alleyway outside the warehouse while Tim was sweeping the inside, passing evidence on to Barbara. And he found himself thoroughly confused. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary so far, except for two things: a human-sized dent in the outside of the warehouse next to the fire escape, and a set of skid marks in the ground leading to said dent. There were 2 sets of shoe prints, too, one pressed deep into the mud in a way that made them easy to miss at first glance, and the second light enough that he was surprised they hadn't washed away yet. He took their measurements and a few photos, but other than that, there was a suspicious amount of nothing. No tire tracks for a getaway car, no footprints outside of the 2 pairs he'd found, and not even a small blood sample. Damn the Gotham Rain for making this that much harder. Nothing in here, Tim called from the roof. Everything up here got washed away by the rain. Any look down? Dent and skid marks, both made by a human body, Dick told him, brows furrowed under his domino mask. As far as I can tell, someone ran in and either slammed into the wall or slammed someone else into the wall. Any chance it could have been Jason? Not the skid marks. There were 2 sets of surviving footprints there, with one matching the width of the mark. They weren't his size. Dick walked up to it, running his fingers around the metal for anything. And I really hope that dent wasn't him. His ribcage would have been crushed in an impact like that. You know Jason, though. He's surprisingly durable. Tim jumped off the roof, landing on the fire escape railing elegantly. Honestly, at this point, we really should start classifying him as a meta. A couple of weeks ago, he somehow hauled himself home from across Gotham with a collapsed lung and while actively bleeding out. Tim cut himself off suddenly, looking over to look at something on the platform. What is it, Red? Dick asked, clambering up the fire escape. These are Jason's boot prints, Tim responded, pointing to 2 faint boot outlines. Look, there's a bit of roof grit left on the prints. Dick looked at the prints and, yeah, even from here, he could spy the outline of Jason's specialized souls. The same ones that all of them had to help with parkouring around the city, but modified to fit onto his boots. Holy shit! Good catch, Timbo. Dick snapped a picture, sending it to Oracle quickly. So he jumped off the roof, landed here, and then what? Maybe he'd grappled? Dick looked towards the back wall and found exactly what he was looking for. There, he pointed. That bit of brick is missing. It's too jagged to be caused by anything other than a grapple hook. He must have tried to grapple away from the warehouse, but got slammed into a wall by someone before he could make it out of the alley? Tim swore under his breath. Fuck, this is bad. Oracle, you get all that? He tapped on the earpiece, Dick mirroring him. Barbara's voice coming to life over the comms as he did. Got it, Tim, she said. Her voice sounded concerned. I'll send you to a few reports of criminal activity in the area last night. I don't think we'll find much, but it's worth a shot. Do you think we could get Orphan, Spoiler, and Signal to watch Gotham for a bit? This is a bit more serious than we thought. Tim replied, already sinking deep into thought. I need more coffee. Tim, no. Tim, yes. Dick facepalmed. 1 week. Bruce was going to be back in 1 week. It was going to be a long week. Alright guys, and that's the end of chapter 2 of Jason Todd's Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Week by Cylinder Boot. I hope you guys liked it, and it's the next chapter.